making a really big movement, we're going to just attend to the basis and the foundations of education. And once we get there, from that point, then the next generations are going to be safe.
You okay?
Now, I can see.
What's going on, Reece?
What's going on? What's going on? Not much.
How are you guys doing?
We're chilling, at least I am.
It's good to see you guys.
I know, it's been like, I don't know, a couple of years.
No, more than 2 years, because I came back to Spain on May 18th, so crazy. Yeah, Reece, did you get some sun?
Always, bro.
How you guys doing? Yo, thank you very much for coming by and just finding the time. Today we're going to cover a really, really important and hot topic, which is racism. This has been popping real bad lately. Well, actually, it's been popping since a freaking lifetime. Reece, I've seen yourself be very, very active on the social media. You actually are fighting the way through equality, which I think it's amazing. And Anton, I know you've been real busy lately. You've been working a lot, and you've been dropping, well, actually what's called some bombs on the social media. So
I think they're considered bombs just because they're probably an unpopular, thoughts. And I didn't come here to argue, but at least I want to understand where Reece is coming from, because I did have a couple conversations with some of my other Black friends, and it definitely, I found out some other things that they have been experiencing personally, and some people that haven't been experiencing. So, after all, we're going to have this conversation. We're still going to part as friends. And yeah.
What about you, Reece? How you doing, bro?
Yeah, no, I'm all good. Same thing, really. Like, I think even if you disagree with someone and you know that if people don't talk, then where are you going to get to? So the two sides of any kind of like political issue over the last how many years have become so polarized that there's no one in the middle and there's no space for like any kind of talking or, so I think it's important to try and reaffirm the bits in the middle, the bits where you can relate and not relate, and not forget that everyone is different.
It's really important to talk about this topic. I mean, it's really difficult. I'm talking with actually like no much sense of it, because I haven't experienced it in myself, in my skin, you know what I mean? But I think that we actually have to figure out that there's a past, there's a history, and any judgment which is based on race or gender, it's completely unfair. People is defined by their values, like how they think and how they act, actually. That's something that I think that the three of us share, right?
Yeah.
I agree with you, and Anton, I'm sure, agrees with you, but it's not that simple anymore. But everyone definitely agrees on that statement. The problem is, it's not things that are done intentionally. But anyway, what do you think, Anton?
I think, we may have the same train of thought. However, there are outliers in the community that think otherwise, and then they possibly start the movement, right? Let's say, honestly, I've been talking to some people and they called me white supremacist, right? And I never said anything against, Black people or Mexican people. In fact, my entire life I've had friends in both cultures, right? And I think sometimes, or maybe like for myself, when I express my thoughts and when I put it out there, social media, I don't necessarily try to make it look pretty or sound pretty, and I just throw it out there and then I get a reaction, right? And when you have a further conversation with somebody behind the scenes and they're like, oh, okay, we're on the same page, right? I think we all agree the fact that, whatever happened was wrong. There's no in the middle, right? There's people who think Black Lives Matter, right, amazing movement, and then there's people gonna be like, Black Lives Matter, terrible movement. And then they're in the middle. I feel like Reece says, the people are not heard, because, I don't disagree with Black Lives Matter, but I don't agree with all the things that came with it as a result, right? Every action causes a reaction, right? And Black Lives Matter came in, and there's people who took advantage of that movement, and started causing rioting. I'm sure Reece may not be in agreement with it, but some people will say, hey, we weren't heard when we were peacefully protesting, so now we start demolishing everything, and it causes, you know, such a backlash. At least for me, I don't see it as a civil way of achieving some sort of agreement in any sort of argument. I think there's a lot of conversation that gets missed, and therefore creates this big disconnect.
Okay, so do you disagree with the riots and the protesting?
I don't disagree with protesting, because there's a really big difference between protesting and rioting. I think rioting is an effective way, at least in my opinion, right? And if you're protesting, cool. But if you're rioting, I think you're putting in danger, and you're touching other people's stuff that has nothing to do with it, right? More people getting injured, there's more businesses getting destroyed. You know, why? That's my question. If that's the way people address the message, I think that's the biggest part that I disagree with.
When there's something like this big happening and still happening in the 21st century, which should not happen at all, you have to pull some strings. And sometimes good people do bad things in order to end up getting a good result out of it. So I don't like businesses getting destroyed or people getting harmed at all. But shit's happening, you know? So if you want things to be seen, if you want things to be viral, you have to be like noisy, you have to be strong about it. These people, they've been harmed during a lot of years. They've been slaves, man, in the same country, you know? So they're not parting from the same point. White supremacy, it's not something that everyone is going to accept, of course not, but it's happening. And this is something that we have to stop. That's the same thing with all the feminism, making a really big movement. We're going to just attempt to the basis and the foundations of education. And once we get there, from that point, then the next generations are going to be safe. You know what I mean? But until we don't get to the core of the fucking racism, which is, man, it just moves hate, and it just moves people getting killed, bro. It's crazy. People's getting killed. People's getting stopped by police just because of their skin. And there's some data about that. And I know that you love data, man, and I love it too.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's a lot of data about it. And I've done my homework as well. And that's crazy, man. Like, just because being black, you have the wisest chances of being pulled over. How's that even possible? That's not fair. That's not normal, man.
This is what I want to say, right? I have a black roommate, right? And she's a little bit older than me, but I had a conversation with her actually today, because I wanted to understand, you know, how she feels about it, right? And she is originally from Texas. You know, I asked her, I said, hey, what do you think about this whole Black Lives Matter? I said, what do you think about rioting, all these things happening? She's like, you know, you can't understand a black man ever just because you have the privilege of being a white man. And then I said, what about your family? She has two brothers and they still live in Texas. And she said, well, none of them were ever experiencing any sort of police brutality or anything like that. And sometimes it's just some people end up in the wrong place at a wrong time.
When we say you'll never understand, that's true. But it's not to say don't try. It means like you have to try. You have to learn and study, because in a perfect world, we wouldn't be the ones to fix this. You know, the only reasons we're the ones that are trying to fix it because, like, you lot don't see it. If you saw it, I promise you, you'd be doing more than us. You lot would be on the streets. You lot would be reading books. You lot would be like calling your family and saying that we got to change this. But that's just not the way it works. So we're the ones that got to be on the streets.
There's an amazing book that I don't know if you guys have read it, but I encourage you to do it. It's Black Like Me. John Howard Griffin. I read it when I was in Illinois. It was like 5 years ago. And man, it touches you. You know, it's written from the history of the author who darkened his own skin, and he went on a travel by southern states in the United States. He went through Georgia. He went through Mississippi. He went through Louisiana. And he explains what's the thing about being a Negro, a so-called Negro in the States in the 60s. And it's crazy. He says there's not something like the white people are in the first class and the black people in the second class. It's the white people in the first class and the black people in the 10th class. And that's something that blows your mind, man. And it's something that a white guy experiences on his own skin just by changing the color. That's what we have to like start thinking about, and just changing the whole foundation of our education.
There's another story that she said that she works as a physical therapist or PA, I think, a physician assistant, and she works in LA, downtown LA, with a lot of LAPD officers. And this is what she said. There was one black officer who came in. He kind of told her story while he was there. He said that back when he was trying to attempt to join a police academy, he had a tattoo of a Bible verse on his hand, right on his arm. And they sent him to a gang department where they had to verify that this is not a gang tattoo, right? And when he went there, he said that, you know, they told him, what the hell are you doing here? You know, this is just a Bible verse, right? So he went back to the police academy. They accepted him, all good. He's the first day in the police academy. He says, I see a white guy just tatted up, all with tattoos, arms, just not a single spot of skin, right? And he said, hey, did you have to go to the gang department and verify that none of these things are gang related? He said, no. Right. So that kind of opened my eyes on that scenario. Right. Obviously, vast majority of my friends are not black. So for me, it's hard to understand where or how these people live life. But one thing she told me, she said, don't compare yourself to a black man because it's just vastly different. I guess when I was posting all my stuff, I was just more mad about the fact that at first I was confused. I said, is this black people starting these riots or who is starting these riots? And I feel like if Black Lives Matter is such a great movement, right? It's getting a bad image, and the people who don't dive deep into the conversations like we do, and they just see the surface of it. I don't know. Personally, that's something I'm not in agreement with, and I think it gives Black Lives Matter, which is a good movement, a bad image. That's my personal opinion.
So, for example, when like Colin Kaepernick was kneeling, what were your thoughts or opinions, Anton?
I can't really comment to that because first of all, I never watched football, and I don't know. That's
okay.
That's what I can say.
Okay, so point is, like, there's been loads of peaceful protests literally for like hundreds of years. Let's just talk the last like 10 years, you know? Mm-hmm. Eric Garner got killed in New York. The people that's fighting just walk away. Don't touch me. Not touch me.
All he did was break up a fight. No, move out the way. Back it up. I'm going to my house. This way.
Same last words, you know, I can't breathe. He didn't do anything. So the players wore I can't breathe on their shirts before they play in basketball and other sports. Just last year, I believe, LeBron James in his press conference was saying about how black people get killed every day. All the media were saying, oh, shut up and dribble. Like, you're so rich. Why are you talking about this kind of stuff? Colin Kaepernick kneeled during the anthem and he ended up losing his job. Couldn't play in the NFL. He got outed by all the teams, you know? And so all these cases that have come and gone have been equally as disturbing as this one today, where you've seen it, where the guy literally dies in front of you and he's got a knee on his neck from the foot. You already know this.
Yeah, terrible.
But on all the other cases, which are equally as disgusting, the police have always got off. It's not even, forget about it even being a black person for a second, like, even though it is always a black person, but then the police get off. So the family tries to, get the case through, the media drops off, and the case goes
cold,
goes away.
This officer, the Chauvin guy, whatever, he killed one of the high-profile cases in 2014. Same thing, killed a black man for no reason. I believe it was footage, and he got off, as you can tell, because he's back doing it again. So, in my town, we protested this week. nothing violent. It was, you know, a nice celebration and reflection and stuff. You got to remember, murder is the worst thing, right? And if murder's on the table, there's nothing that's not on the table. Like, nothing. Do you know what I'm saying? So people have seen Black people get beat up for no reason by the police, and this and that and this and that, and there's nothing you can ever do, because when it comes to your word against theirs, you know how it goes. So if people have seen, like, I seen Jamie Foxx talking, and he's like, if you go to a certain group of moms in like Chicago or here or there, over the last, I don't know, 40 years, they can give you 200 stories of either beatings or deaths by police where like they just couldn't do anything. Like it's a lot. So if someone's so mad they want to go and like smash up a place, I don't want to do it, but like I'm behind you in terms of we've tried peaceful for years and they didn't want to listen. And look how sad it is now that the only reason that we're talking about it is because there's a debate about how the protests were, not what happened. If like Black people had have let this case go, everyone would have let this case go too, and it'd be the same as it was like 4 weeks ago and before that. One more thing, then I'll stop talking. The Arbery case, the Ahmaud Arbery case, which I'm sure you've seen too, right? In February, a Black man was going for a jog in the South, I believe Georgia, and he like went through a house that was being built, like I believe it had scaffolding and stuff. He kind of walked through, which he shouldn't have, but he walked through, he didn't take anything, and he carried on his run. A father and a son in a local house saw him running, and they followed him in the truck with their guns. A third person followed in his car to box him in, who was recording. Basically, Ahmaud Arbery saw them stop in front of him with the guns. He went to fight the son who had a gun, and then the dad shot him in the back. He shot him in the back in the middle of the street, middle of the day, fell to the floor, he died. That case didn't come out in February. What happened is the police let the killers go and told his mom that he was shot during a robbery. So his mom just seen him leave to go for a run, finds out a few hours later he got killed in a robbery, which makes no sense, but you can't challenge the police, right? The person recording, the third like murderer, if you will, gives the footage to the police. The police clear them and let them go back home. They say it was self-defense, right? He's so confident, he releases the video onto social media, and that's where it gets found by people, and they go back through the case. That, okay, let's say that the Black people have to fight for this case. Makes no sense, bro, how we've got to fight for this case every time. Should be the whole country. But whatever, we'll do it. Why are people not enraged with the police department that let that stuff go? This one with the George Floyd, the cops wasn't arrested for 48 hours until the country was on fire. And then it's like, oh, we have to arrest them. Like, do you understand that he wouldn't have been arrested or anything had there not been riots?
That's been happening historically, which is change is being promoted by rioting. The French Revolution, independence of any country, because actually people who is in charge, people who is having the power, is not gonna like get down and kneel just because some people is just getting out on the streets and just say, please, please, please. We have to wait until we see everything crumbling until we take action.
I mean, you definitely have great points. We all have different perspectives because of who we are based on our skin color, right? I mean, you're more like me. People may think you're more white, obviously, right? And then
I'm in between.
Yeah, and we may never experience the same story as Reece would if we were in a bad area of Chicago. I mean, I think we all agree, right? We need to change something about the system, right? Data shows one thing, right? Other stories that I listen to personally tell me another thing. So, and that's, like I said, that's something that's not been accounted or found on Statista or any other sources. I think we have a common ground, right? What happened was wrong. The cop was bad. Mayor Garcetti said, let's defund the hell out of the police by 150 to 100 million. And what I don't agree with that is one thing. First of all, you're defunding the police. Now you have less police force. Second, other policemen are now, let's say, struggling. I don't know whether it's getting access to better equipment, better vehicles, whatever, right? Why not not defund the police, give them more money, give them better training, bring in psychologists, bring in, I don't know, better coaches that would actually train them and say, okay, hey, if you do this, then this is going to happen. If you decide to kill somebody, you know, you're going to have a consequence.
I disagree. America already spends the highest percentage of their like budget on police, you know, so it's already high compared to other countries. I'll come back to this point because police brutality is like the tip of the iceberg, but we'll stay on it for now. So the reason I think they should defund the police is because they already have too much money. Like, you look at the equipment they have compared to like the nurses and stuff, it's like 100-year difference. It looks like police are in the future, the nurses are just like scraping by with what they can get. And the reason the police have anything to do is because there are people that are so poor, they're stealing and like they're fighting over this, fighting over that. If you defund the police and add that into the communities that need it, in terms almost like reparations, youth clubs and infrastructure and this and that, that comes together as less police and less reason for police, and you can get that cycle going that way. You know about how in the criminal justice system that they like get paid per bed being used up in the prison. So that needs to go, and they need to start putting the money into the people rather than into the system of incarcerating people, which again goes against Black people.
You can make a comparison that American police has the best equipment and most money out of the entire world. Is part of because American economy is the best in the world. So
why is that?
What do you mean, why is that?
Why is America the richest country in the world?
I mean, because we're capitalists. We have companies that come here from other countries because they can start business. Because let's say Trump lowered tax rates, but even before Trump, America has always been capitalist and a country of innovation.
But why did they get ahead so fast? America is one of the newest countries of all time. Well, one of the newest countries. So why did they become the richest country in the space of a few hundred years?
I mean, I don't know.
Slavery. That's what it was.
I never researched America's success rate in connection to slavery, you know, so I can't talk about that. But I think America is great just because we have so many cultures that flood to America, and all this combination of people are able to create, innovate, and you know, establish companies that no other country would establish. We have ability, we have investors, we have all these things. We have so much money in this country, it's unbelievable. The way it's distributed may not be in agreement with everybody, but you get what you work for, you know?
No, I disagree. Why do you think that?
You disagree. Okay. If, let's say, Black people, I have some Black friends who are lawyers. I have Black friends who work and have high on positions in the companies, right? Is that, could you say that racist, or is that, I don't know, like, how could you comment against that?
A Black person or like some Black people being lawyers is great. And, you know, if I end up opening a Fortune 500 company, that's awesome. But if, let's say lawyers, right? Let's say Black people are 13%. If only 3% of the nation's lawyers are Black, that's a disparity. And there is a reason behind that. The only way the race is completely relevant is when the numbers are random. When the numbers have correlations, there's reason for it, you know? Mm-hmm. So some of your friends, I know Black lawyers too. But the point is that it's not equal distribution. So there is a lot of wealth in America, but the wealth is not distributed equally by race, by proportion. And there's a lot of reasons for that, and reasons why it's not equal playing field. I'll give you one example. Last legal laws pertaining to Black people ended in 1984. So like only like 10 years before we was born. One of which was redlining. So in America, if you was inside this red line, you couldn't get loans to buy houses. We're talking like 40 odd years ago. So it can't be fair now if people that like, let's say you're 60, you was in that for 20 years, and let's say you're born there and you're in the hood, like, it's not equal even if it was another 50 years, it's still not equal. You're still at a disadvantage.
Whatever that law was, the redlining, first of all, terrible thing. Second of all, I think there would nothing be against you to become a CEO of some sort of company or make your way up. I don't think that Black people are doomed to stay in middle class, because by no means that's true. That there's Black people who are super rich. But as far as that redlining thing, like you mentioned, sure, I can definitely see how that could have impacted the generational wealth.
Wealth that's been taken for hundreds of years. So, like, I don't know if you knew this, but certain breakoffs of Black people after slavery, they made it. In Tulsa, there was a place, some people have seen it this week around social media, called Black Wall Street, where like a Black community, because there was still segregation, a lot of racism, they made their own like community, a lot of businesses, houses. They would keep the money in the community, buy from the photography shop, and then he would go buy at the corner shop, and the money would stay within the people. So they all was making it. All the people dressed nice in suits and stuff. One day, a little Black boy was like either in the town over, or where like the white people were too, and he stepped on a white woman's foot, right? And the white woman screamed. So like obviously the people went nuts. Long story short, the white people came and killed everybody, burnt the place to the ground, and the people who survived had to go find like another way. That's just one example. And then you've obviously got slavery and the Jim Crow laws and all the other stuff. The red line was just the last thing, but they was already in trouble first. They was already in the ghetto, and you just draw a red line around them. They was already there. I could possibly and legally become a CEO of a company, but there's way more steps that I have to take than either you have to take. What you see with George Floyd this week is he is just the catalyst for the movement. His death was horrific and it hurt to watch. But I've seen at least 20 of those like deaths on that level. I'm not saying that's like a good thing for me, because we've been so desensitized to seeing people like get killed like us, that we can watch videos of people getting murdered, and we've seen it so many times, like it doesn't even hurt anymore. Like, oh, if I just went to the shop and the guy followed me around, he's gonna steal, I'll take it. You know what I mean? Like once every couple of days, I'll take it. But when you add all the things up, and the fact that the information is there, but people don't know it, you've just seen everyone just say, hang on a second, the days of turning the other cheek are over, and we're not taking it anymore.
Since the whole thing about George Floyd happened, I dreamt something which was kind of magical, which is how the whole pandemic, which brought all these deaths and all this like bad, environment, could be like something completely positive in terms of racism. It happened like a lot of times before, and we never got to this point. But since everyone is kind of trapped and like they felt it way deeper, so people started to move like strongly, you know what I mean? And I hope this ends up happening, which is like the fucking COVID end up killing the fucking racism. But in order for that to happen, we have to start moving. We have to start taking action. In this case, Reece, bro, I feel really happy when I see yourself like, trying to like go forth, taking steps further in this scenario, because it's not something easy, but we have to support any kind of yell to justice and every kind of yell to equality in any of the terms.
Reece earlier mentioned, he said, well, I don't necessarily agree with rioting, but I'm right behind you there just because nobody heard us, right? Obviously I disagree with that. What if that was your family's business and you didn't know, or like your brother's business or your sister's business, and all of a sudden the rioters and looters got into that neighborhood and they stole the crap out of that business? Would you say the same thing? Oh, well, this had to be sacrificed as a part of a bigger change?
Have you seen some of the statements from business owners and big businesses that have said like, we have been looted, but it's okay, it's part of the cause, we have insurance, like it's an important issue? Have you seen some of those?
No, I haven't.
If you want, I can send you some. I don't think you'll believe me, but I promise you I'll be in there with those people. Like, I don't value property or business over lives, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the manifestation of that is that if my business has to go up for this next person to not get killed next week, that is something I'll deal with. That's something if it's at my own personal cost, that's okay. Because the point is, like, a guy in my community got killed for no reason and no one is listening. And if this is the only way that they want to arrest the guy, that is what it is. Like, and you ignored LeBron James, and you ignored the comedians telling you, or ignored the people like lying on the road. Do you know what I'm saying? So if they don't give me a solution, and this what happened has become the solution, I don't know how you can tell me it's wrong. Does that make sense?
I'm sure, Reece, you probably saw the video, and probably Woody saw the video of Candace Owens, right? I didn't watch the full video because for some reason I got distracted later, but whatever. I got to the part where she was talking about statistics of George Floyd, right? And what I liked is she said, you know, it doesn't mean that all the things that he done bad in his life are, you know, and he deserves to die or he doesn't deserve a second chance. But you know, some of the things that I listened about him as an individual would make me think otherwise of, you know, printing his stuff on my shirt and walking down the street and protesting. Now, I know this movement is much more than just about George Floyd. Like I said, my judgment and my facts, or not facts, but my thoughts right now are purely based off of that video. And just in case if she was to give me some false facts, you know, I apologize for that. But the time where he went in and they robbed a woman who was pregnant and put a gun to her belly, how would that woman feel? How would you as her sibling feel when all of a sudden George Floyd dies and, you know, there's such a huge outcry?
Yeah, I saw about how George Floyd had a felony and he went to jail and stuff, and it makes him not a perfect person. But like, I'm trying to get people to see, like, that's completely irrelevant in terms of how he died and why he died. So I agree that he wasn't a perfect person, and I might not make a mural of him in my room, but the only point is that he paid with a fake $20 bill, which you never know if he even knew or not. That was never
exactly.
And he got killed for it. Do you know what I mean? So I understand that his credibility's gone down in terms of he's been to jail, but the way Candace used it to legitimize what happened, even though she'd use a disclaimer, "Oh, I'm not legitimizing," then spent 50 minutes legitimizing, that is like, I don't like that. He got killed for no reason and dehumanized. If that case happened and there was only that one case, even though we would pretty much know it's racism, that other side wouldn't let us say it because, oh, it's only been one case and blah, blah, blah. We've had to watch multiple cases, multiple years, multiple stories, you know. Like, my own uncle got his teeth knocked in by the police. Nothing ever happened. Like, we've seen it all. Everyone's seen it. And we've had to wait for like extra confirmation because we don't have, like you say, the stats, but we know. And I guess, yeah, so the Candace video, like, I understand. Look, she has made a career off of being the antagonistic black woman. She's leveraged her skin color the other way, whereby like Republicans can use her as the token to say, oh, this black person thinks the opposite. She knows what she's doing. They know what they're doing by using her. And it's all like a nice little like team activity. But no, in my opinion, the fact that he had a felony like doesn't make any difference at all.
The Amy Cooper's video, well, we were talking about education before, and the way that she reacts, that guy being black, she starts calling the police. That's a fucked up thing, you know.
And is that the video of the gal in the park who
with the dog? Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that video. Yeah.
Please don't come close to me.
Sir, I'm asking you to stop recording me.
Please don't come close to me.
Please take your phone off.
Please don't come close to
And
me.
I'm taking pictures calling the cops.
Please call the cops. Please call the cops.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Please tell them whatever you like.
I'm sorry, I'm in a ramble, and there is a man, African-American, who has a bicycle helmet. He is recording me and threatening me and my dog. There is an African American man. I am in Central Park. He is recording me and threatening myself and my dog. And my... I'm sorry, I can't hear you either. I'm being threatened by a man into the ramble. Please send the cops immediately.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I can't comment on that just because as a white person, I would never do that. You know, whatever she did, like how would, I mean, I'm trying to phrase this question, but how would Black Lives Matter change how that person feels and how that person was raised? Because the family roots, they go so deep. And just because the public is going to say Black Lives Matter, obviously, and racism is bad, obviously, I think there will still be outliers in this world who are going to preach the bad stuff to their children. And that's how a particular percentage point of our population, even, you know, in the world or in America specifically, will be growing up. They will be growing up racist. It will be really hard to overturn the generations of preaching.
Definitely.
You know.
Yeah, definitely.
So where we've had the same experiences, right, is in school. All three of us have learned the same stuff, more or less. Growing up in Europe, Anton a little bit in America. Like you grow up learning that like saying racist words is racist. If you don't say racist words, you're not racist. Yeah, that's what I learned in school. But from being Black, like I learned what racism really is, and the vast majority isn't conscious. Guess what? As crazy as it sounds, if you asked Amy Cooper an hour before she did that, "Are you racist?" she would genuinely say no. And you have to really sit and think about that sentence. She would genuinely think the answer is no. Racism isn't like this person's racist and this person isn't. Racism is a spectrum, and it goes from 0 to, which is a person who like has zero connotations with color in terms of they see someone in a hoodie who's Black and they don't think anything. But that's only like 0.1% of people. Everybody has some kind of racial bias. At the same time, they also think they're not racist. So that's why like, and going back to how Anton says, what's Black Lives Matter gonna do? It's about education on this next level that you two like have never been to. Like it's a whole new world. Have you seen Stranger Things? It's like a, yeah. So yeah, you both know it's like the upside. It's like the
upside
down.
Like
it's the whole world. It looks the same. It's like not the same thing. It's like having a master's in racism. Yeah, and like you lot never went to school. That's how different it is. I know I can do it, and loads of Black people can do it. I can read body language. I can read word intonations, word choice, like to tell if you have a racist bias or not, just because I've been practicing for years by accident. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, I can't, there's not words to like describe how little like you can know. Do you know what I mean? Like even that story that your friend told you, like it blows your mind. Yeah. Because to me, like, I'm like, yeah, obviously, like that kind of thing happens all the time, you know? Quick examples, like my mom's a social worker. She'll go look after an old patient. She has to decide quickly whether she's going to put a hand out to shake her hand or not, because the person won't touch her. The person will look and be like, oh, it's a Black person. My dad, he works in the prison. When he comes in wearing a suit, Black men in a prison, the prisoners, all the other officers, everyone's like confused, you know? And you've got to learn to deal with these situations. Anyway, my point is, the reason that everybody has to read more, and me, the reason I wanted to even be here is because I always try and read the other side, because what if I was wrong, you know? And that's what I want, like, the people who are maybe like white or like of another race that haven't experienced it, they know there's something they don't know. Like, why would an entire world of Black people be mashing up shops and roaming the streets? Like deep down, they know there's something they don't understand, and nobody really knows where they are on the spectrum. That's the crazy thing, and that's what's scary. But like, it's hard to look at yourself and pick apart things and then find out, oh, wow, I was doing this wrong my whole life, or I didn't know I was doing this, or perpetuating that. Like, it's not easy, which is why I have patience for, like, you know, Black and white people that like want to learn or have been like doing something wrong or saying something wrong, like, because it's hard, right? If I was white, I don't know what my position would be on certain things, but there is like an obligation to learn. As I said before, like, if you lot knew what I knew, you'd be on the streets with us, I swear to you. But it's hard to get that information across. So last thing, then I'll let you go to bed. If the scale is 0, which is non-racist, to 100, which is like KKK, like kill everyone,
right?
Where would you guess you were?
I mean, after this conversation, I would say probably like I don't know, man, a 10%. I mean, I don't know. So if I am racist, I would be racist with me as well,
Yeah. Anton?
I can't say that I'm racist because I always like to approach things with open mind. Like I told you before, my mind was only focused on the data that I was able to acquire from in the circle of people that I know, and based on the data that I find online, right? Answer you, no, I don't think I'm racist.
Looking at yourself and like picking yourself apart and making yourself feel bad is the only real way it goes forward. Like, forget burning the buildings down, forget like putting money into like hitting yourself first is the only way. Like, as a kid, you might find a black person. I remember when I was like 7 or 8, I never thought I want to be white, but I thought, why am I not white? Like, their life is so much easier than mine. Why can't I just be white? It'd be so much easier. Those kind of things that mess you up is how you like understand these things. I didn't want to ever have that thought as an 8-year-old, but it happened, And that's how we understand certain things. So my point in total is like, the things that you don't understand are not easy to come across. That's why there's this whole like phrase been termed white fragility, is because like our ability to deal with racist conversations and racist issues and racist reflections, we've been doing our whole lives. But the moment you question whether a white person has racial bias, you feel uncomfortable because you've never done it before. You've never been in that situation. Like just now, you guys are like, I can't be racist. Everybody's racist on some level of the spectrum. The information has been put into you and it doesn't actually make any sense. So we've got to debunk this whole web of preconceptions and misconceptions that we didn't even know was a problem, but they are. So that's why it's such a difficult thing to get across. It's like, we can see what shouldn't be there, but to you it's normal, and that's the issue.
How we're gonna move forward with this whole thing as far as Black Lives Matter and my thought process on Black Lives Matter, we'll see. Time will show. I think whatever Reece had to say, he definitely had valid points.
So will you now want to read more or like learn more about it, or not so much?
I will definitely do my due diligence on doing research and trying to understand what the hell is up with Black Lives Matter. Do I understand that there is a problem in America as Uri does, as you do? Sure, just because I've already heard about it. I'm glad we had this conversation. I didn't want to argue with anybody or anything, just because we have our own thoughts and we make our own decisions and we move forward.
I just wanted to thank you guys, both of you, because actually it's been a real pleasure. Both of you are great and intelligent guys. I'm just gonna keep reading. I'm just gonna keep going further this topic, and even though I can never get into the point as how a Black person feels, I'll try, bro. I'll try. You have to get to 80%. Like you have to. And we're gonna get it by trying. I'm pretty sure about that. And I hope this whole thing, this whole movement, Black Lives Matter, I hope someday it's all lives matter, because that's gonna mean that racism is over. All lives matter because all lives are fucking equal, and that's what we have to go. I agree. So guys, thank you very much again for being here on Morigo Method channel, talking about this hot and really, really important topic. Good night, good day, and hope to see you guys anytime soon.
All righty, Reece.
All right.
Woody.
Take care.
Take care.
Going round
There's a man going round taking names. He has taken my father's name, and it's left my heart in pain. There's a man going round taking names, going round, going round. There's a man going round taking